So welcome everyone to the first panel just after lunch Spanish time and very early in the morning over the other side of the country where lots of our panelists are from today. So this is, for me, one of the most exciting sessions of the day, because I have to say that, as being also part of one of the wonderful Showcase Festival. But it is actually Meet the Festivals with, I'd say, the best selection of Showcase Festivals out there. So we've got the best people to tell you all about the festivals. So I'm not going to waffle on any longer. I'm going to hand it directly over to the guys who are going to each have about 2 or 3 minutes to present what festival they're working on or running, you know, everything we need to know and what you guys should know about so you can get applying for the next edition. So I don't know if you want to take it away, Andy. I'll give you all the power first.
Brilliant, thank you. Thanks for that introduction. So yeah, hello everybody. My name is Andy Jones and I'm one of the co-founders of the Focus Wales Showcase Festival. Takes place each year in North Wales in the UK. You know, we've been going 10 years now. Ordinarily would take place in the May, which is significant to note, but because of the pandemic, we postponed our 10th edition to this October. So we will be taking place over the 7th to the 9th of October this year. Fingers and everything crossed that we're able to do that. Yeah, really excited about that. You know, the fact that we're emerging out of this and we're going to be able to do an in-person event again. But yeah, we're a showcase festival with a conference component. Over the 10 years, we've developed the festival to the point where our most recent edition in 2019 was a huge success, won us some awards and certainly got the attention of lots of people in the industry. So we were well primed to go into 2020 with a spring in our step and then the pandemic. But, you know, we had 15,000 people, over 250 artists, about 500 delegates at the conference. We have the conference happen across the 3 days and then all of the showcasing artists performing across 20 stages around the town in the evenings. The whole spirit of it is about connecting new artists from around the world with music industry around the world. It's about developing careers and I guess in part about showcasing what we have to offer in Wales in terms of the industry and the new talent that we have here. That's probably enough waffle from me for now. So I don't know, I suppose we pass it on to somebody else. It's over to you, Grace.
So thanks a lot for that, Andy. And I have to share with you all, I was really fortunate enough to be at the last edition of Focus Wales, and it was a really, you know, amazing experience and discovered lots of really great talent. So hope to be back with you all. So coming over in October to discover more. So all fingers crossed there. And then another festival I had a chance to go to just before all this kicked off in March last year was also Indie Week. And here we've got Darryl, who's going to be able to tell you all about that.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, pandemic has really changed things for us. Going into the pandemic, we knew we weren't going to be able to do our live event, which is normally a showcase festival with about 240 artists from around the world, taking over 24 venues downtown Toronto, with conferencing during the day. But with the pandemic, we were the first to cancel. It was in March that we canceled. Our event is normally November, and this year it is online, November 9th through the 13th. And then when we saw things kind of being able to happen online, we decided to try it. And it was actually very successful online. And we've moved forward. Now we're doing 4 conferences online a year that actually talk to different demographics. So Indie Week is our flagship and our hub where we get everybody there, and it's very international. We're showcasing 7 different music markets this year. And we also deal with Indigenous and different communities, mental health and wellness. We were one of the first conferences to have a day dedicated to mental health and wellness about 5 years ago. So that's a very important part, but also, of course, business development, career development, and connections, which we've been finding has been able to actually exceed expectations online because we can connect at all hours of the day. We don't have to be at the lobby bar at 1:05 after a panel to try to meet people and stuff. So we can connect online. all the time. And so the 4 conferences we have is Indie Week. That's again our flagship and our hub, November 9th through 13th. And then we have Screen by Screen, which we launched this year. And if it's in February, it'll be in February next year. And that's music and tech. So AI, VR, blockchain, live streaming, digital merch. That's a lot of the focus. And then we have Indie 101, which is in April. And that is really about, merging artists and also people that are coming up in the business and giving them business development. And this year we did a test of artist showcasing where we started with local artists that were partnered with SEMA, City of Toronto, Honey Jam, and another conference called Global Toronto. And all of them got international showcases off of their participation, and there's still more being booked. And then our 4th one, which is coming up literally next week, is Music Pro Summit. And that's a higher level of discussion. So not just the surface sort of beginner stuff, it's like really higher level. Have TikTok influencers. We're talking about monetizing on Twitch and live streaming, data through chart metrics, digital distribution, rights and royalties, how to basically make money online, as we really see that moving forward, we have to all educate ourselves. If anything, the pandemic has taught us is that we might have been behind a little bit in knowing what we can actually achieve online. And now we're propelling forward and we're trying to be a part of that. I was going to say, I don't know if everyone can see the chat or if this can be shared, but I have a personal guest list. So if anybody's interested in checking out Music Pro Summit, I put it in the chat, and if that can get shared with the audience, it's basically you're on my personal guest list if you want to come check it out next week. So that's it. I waffled a lot, and I got to say, Andy's conference, Focus Wales, is amazing, as everyone's here. But I was early days at Focus Wales, and it's been great to see it grow.
Thanks so much for that, Darryl, and thanks for the invites. That'd be great to share with the people that are attending. And obviously, you can see you've got endless choices throughout the year for different profiles to connect and find out a bit more about the Canadian market and talk about a global market as well with partners. So talking about a global market, talking about exports, I'd really like to welcome now Francisca, who was actually on the panel with us about 3 hours ago, talking just about that topic. Am I export ready? What do I need to do? How do I need to prepare myself? What are the tips? What support's out there? So I'll hand it over to you now to present your showcase.
Thank you. Yes, I'm presenting Fluvial. That is a conference and music festival we do in Valdivia in the south of Chile. That is a very beautiful city. It's a small city. We have like 50 showcases each year. This time it's going to be on December. It's always on December, the end of November, the first days of December. This year it's going to be from the 1st to the 4th of December. It's going to be like hybrid. We hope we can have Chilean people at least watching shows and seeing shows. It's been really hard for us, the pandemic. And well, there's supposed to come some delegations even from Spain. We're waiting, expecting that if that can really happen. We are still like looking, but it's supposed to happen like that. And the focus is like to know more about of course, the Chilean music industry, independent music industry, but also to be like a opening door for Latin America also. We've tried to invite a lot of people from Latin America and from other places, of course. So it's a full international focus, independent music, indie music, pop, and also we have a lot of indigenous music. Not a lot, but we're working that area also. And for us, the climate, it's very important. So also we have the Music Declares Emergency program. They're working stuff together also.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Francisca. And we'll, fingers crossed that everything will come off there. And so Carmen, tell us more. Introduce yourself.
I'm Carmen. I'm the founder of Órbita, and I co-directed with Álvaro that was supposed to be here, but he's traveling to Spain for Cranc, I think. So yeah. So Órbita, it's a festival that's based in Santiago of Chile. I have done 3 editions in Santiago, 1 in Lima, and 1 in New York. The slight difference that it has with other conferences is that maybe like the curatorship of bands is more specific, it's more experimental, psyche, like it goes to like more like, I don't know, like a style, gender focus programming. And we mix headlining bands with the showcasing bands. So we have like 3 days that we do the panels. Most of them are more focused on creative processes than business itself. So like discussing with a programmer, with a promoter, why he programs certain type of bands, why do they make those decisions, like commercially wise. And on the other hand, like we have 1 day where we put like big stages with headliners like, I don't know, Dandy Warhols we had, Cigarettes After Sex, Los Mutantes. So it's very exciting for the showcasing bands to get to also perform with like in this like ambient where it's so creative and everybody has something in common in a way, like in the music style. So yeah, it's like building a community towards a style that it's like, it's not that it's harder to sell, but it's more niche. It's more niche. It's not like massive. It's not mainstream. And on the other hand, because of in Órbita, we have like built other side projects like Burger Records Latam, that is now Hotel Records. So we also like try to work the exchange of artists and also working with other festivals that are similar than us. So, yeah.
Thanks for that introduction, Carmen. And then finally, because Manu unfortunately can't join us either because he's also flying with Álvaro over to Menorca for the festival. So Peter, tell us all about Future Echoes and I'll try and shut up.
Well, Future Echoes is it's a new showcase festival. It should happen. It took over from another showcase festival called Where's the Music that was in Sweden before. And we built a new brand where we actually took people from other showcase festivals as well to build one international festival that's going to be in Sweden, which is called Future Echoes. And right now I'm in Romania on MMB, Mastering the Music Business. So not even in Sweden. And trying to get people over there because we had to push it, unfortunately, because of the Swedish laws wasn't changed. So we are pushing the first edition is going to happen in February in 2022, 17 to 19 of February. And well, it's a bigger lineup and we're probably going to have a little bit more. We said it's going to be 100, but thinks it's gonna be a little bit more bands because we are since we are pushing it, we actually also got the opportunity to add things on to the festival. So hopefully it will be a mid-size showcase festival. It contains all genres and well, that's around what we do on Future Echoes.
Thanks, Peter. And that's actually a good link to sort of the next question, you know, to sort of what would you define now as what talent is hot in your region? You know, what genre do you have to have at your festival, or what's working right now, and what's the easy sell to the delegates, you know, for the different markets? Because I know it changes quite a lot, and especially as Carmen mentioned, you've got a more niche target over there, but it'd be good to get a few insights from you guys. I don't know, Andy, Darryl, if you want to start.
From our side, I mean, Wales is like a really interesting scene with respect to the fact that we have like lots of clusters of scenes because of the sort of geography makeup of Wales. You have these really cool scenes that are sort of isolated from everything else. So you don't get this sort of big city sounder-like thing that happens, you know, when a band really takes off in a Manchester or a Liverpool, you get one successful band and then 20 not quite as good bands who all sound the same. We don't really have that thing happen as much, you know, where, you know, we have lots of successful bands come through, but they're coming through from these really interesting scenes that are sort of in the shadows of the spotlight, you know, so like they're just getting on with it. So It's such a mishmash of genres coming through. I think one thing that is notable over the last year or two is just like how much like the artists operating across hip hop and grime in Wales have really sort of got organized, and it's such a productive scene that's coming through, especially what's coming out of Cardiff. It's really exciting to see. You know, it's a very productive scene, lots of releases, artists really taking the opportunity during the pandemic to professionalize how they present themselves online. But I don't really have a bias one way or another, or, you know, there's not one particular hot artist that I can lean on without disappointing loads of other artists. So
I can see a shout out to Benji Wild, can't I? Because that fits in that bracket that you were mentioning there.
Benji's fantastic. I mean, I'll mention some artists that I am working with, but like, yeah, Benji Wild is a fantastic artist coming through, formerly of the band Asteroid Boys, in his own right, developing some exciting material now. Debut album due probably early next year. But yeah, there's just like a long list of brilliant artists coming through. I always feel like Wales punches above its weight. You know, we're a country of like 3.2 million people, but we keep producing these bands that fill stadiums, and quite often people around the world don't necessarily know that they're from Wales. We're working on that. But no, it's an exciting time. I do really feel that, as I say, the last year has been a moment of reflection for everyone in music, but it has given a bit of breathing space for artists to sort of reflect, how can I sort of get my act together online, professionalize, get some videos done, think about a longer term strategy while we're not able to play shows. So I'm excited by it, but that's a long-winded answer, isn't it? Sorry.
Thanks for your feedback there, Andy. No, but that was really insightful. Darryl, what about yourself? What's hot over in Canada right now? What's on the scene?
Well, there's a couple bands. Though, and one thing, if I can just sort of say, to understand Canada, that it's a big country, and because of that, we have different territories, and it's a really interesting thing. It's almost like different countries within the country. So, for instance, Quebec is its own sort of element. West Coast, East Coast, the Prairie provinces, and North. And then we have Ontario, which is like where Toronto is, and that's where like a lot of the music businesses and corporations are there. So it's the hotbed that everybody tries to get to. But often I actually find the interesting artists are in the rural areas that aren't in the main industry hub. So there's artists from Winnipeg. Desiree Dorian is an Indigenous artist that's doing really well right now. Twin Flames, another Indigenous artist that's from a rural community. One of their singles was the UNESCO song for the Indigenous Voices of the Year, which was really exciting. And then just outside of Toronto, there's a small city called Oshawa, and there's a band called Crownlands, and they were just set to release an album right when COVID was starting. They had their release party booked, and it was all the big hype. And then of course lockdown came, and they've had to delay that release, and they've just started releasing singles right now. But if you are a prog rock kind of fan who likes Rush, and this is a duo, they sound very much like that. There is that big sound. They actually recorded with Terry Brown, the producer of Rush. And I know one of the quotes is like, they even used the same drum kit as Neil Peart. So got a little bit of motivation there. But yeah, Canada is an interesting one. And something to talking about the online part with Ontario, we've actually had quite the punch in the stomach, because our government actually banned live streaming, like video recording. Artists haven't actually been able to be in an empty venue and just record. So it's been more like, you know, people in their bedroom or kitchen, and they've had to be a little bit more inventive other ways to make it interesting. But an artist who has been very successful at that is Ken Tizard. He was always doing a pub gig every Wednesday called Whiskey Wednesdays, and a pub that held like 50 people. Now he has hundreds of people tuning in every Wednesday. And he put out a post of if anybody wants to collaborate on a project. And he's now released an album. I think it's all together now with over 45 artists contributing, and some of the top names, including the drummer of Nickelback is on a song, and so forth. So Ken Tizard is a good one to check up too. But long-winded answer. We've got lots of artists that I could keep talking. So.
And Carmen, what about your, obviously, as you mentioned, it's a more niche genre focus, so will you be carrying on down that lane, or is there new musical niches on the way that you want to explore and share talent-wise? Oh, you're still on mute, I think. Yeah, nearly there. I'm
sorry, I'm very slow. I have COVID, so I got up today to do this. But yeah, I'm okay. So what your question? I think that it's not that just like I listened only to psychedelic music or to rock or to like indie rock. It's like I'm very open to listening to everything. I love jazz. I love classical music. I love to explore indigenous artists. Actually, we did like some interventions like on the last edition we did in Santiago. And I invited an artist from Israel called Jonathan Gad, that he was doing like interventions with not only indigenous artists from the countries he's living, which is the States, but like from other places like Morocco. So for me, like it's all about exploration and not necessarily being obvious. Like I don't want like hits, like bands that do hits playing in the festival. So you get like a band that, for example, like Suns from Canada, that they have an amazing specific sound, and it's not like linked to something that it's pop or rock. It's like it's their own sound, and I love when that happens. And it happens to me a lot. Like sometimes I go exploring in a conference. I don't know if Andy remembers Jambinai from Seoul. Like that's the band that I say, oh my God, like what's this sound? I've never heard this before. I want them. That's like in the way how I make the equation, but it can be like from cumbia or to even urban music. It has to have like a vibe that makes it special and different. Like I basically I could say that as a programmer, I try to not be obvious and not run away from the commercial for an Órbita, not for other projects. But I'm very inclusive because I don't only program for an Órbita, I also program for other events, and I do shows during the year, and like it's also necessary to understand what it will work where and why, you know what I'm saying? And in terms of like what's hot here right now in Chile, I have to say trap music, that is like a cousin of hip hop, something like that. It's like everywhere, and the kids are doing an amazing job, like in terms of like developing their careers. Something very new for me to see, like that we have like finally artists with international projection, and that they're doing very, very well, like doing collabs with important artists like Bad Bunny, for example, Pablo Chile from here. Like it's exciting.
Thanks for that input, Carmen. You probably find it strange sort of this question, because we're not talking about, oh, how sad, all the live scene, COVID, etc. But I just want to make this as practical session as possible for everybody following, so they know what, they understand what our role is as programmers, for different festivals, and what we're looking out for, and what's that special thing behind each of the different festivals, because I think that's more useful for the audience that are watching us right now. So Francisca, what's hot for Fluvial? Which acts are giving you the goosebumps,
Yeah, we're really open, because it's also, we want to showcase what we do in Chile. And Chile, even though it's a small country, is a very long country. So we have the desert at the north, the driest desert of the world, and we have the Antarctica in the south. So of course, people from here, the music from the north is very different from the music from the south or from the center. So yeah, we are really open. We have like an electronic venue, so we have also rock, trap music, as Carmen said, hip hop, world music. We're very open to hear from everyone. As Carmen says, it has to be like something that works. And Chile doesn't have like it's not the Latin America that sometimes people believe when you say Latin America, like cumbia, maybe now full reggaeton. And Chile is not like that. We're in the south, we're in the colder side of Latin America. So we're different. And yeah, no, we mainly have a lot of rock also. Well, the indigenous side, we also have folk music. It's more down sometimes, Chilean music, like than the rest of Latin America, but it's also, we're really open to different kinds of music. That's something of the Chilean people. We're super open to hear and to learn more about everybody else's music. We're not a very closed market in that way.
Cool, Francisca, thanks for that. And Peter, obviously 100 acts were ready to perform in 2 weeks' time, and as you mentioned, covering so many genres, right? So what will be the focus for the February acts that will be on the lineup? Is there a specific genre that you know is going to work, or are we just going to carry on covering as many bases as possible?
I mean, the thing here with Sweden is we are the country that spread all that crappy hit music. The most of the hits in the world are made here. So it's not, of course, pop music and electronic music has a big vibe, but to understand Sweden, it's more difficult than that, because we also have a huge following for Americana, country, roots music. They even have certain people that builds full tours just for that. So then there are even country stars from Nashville that breaks in Sweden and then breaks in Nashville. And also we have indigenous people up in the north that people don't really know that we have languages inside Sweden that is not spoken to many. And so we have a band called the Magnettes, for example. They are one of those minorities that actually prevents languages. So inside this pop music, it's quite much a difference. But when we look bands for what we're booking, it can be anything. It's everything from grassroots to anything that we have. This year, I was most excited about an Australian guy that moved to Sweden just to make his music better, called Astedt, which is breaking through in Europe quite heavily right now. And he was just up for like, okay, I will play there. We tried to get another band from Sweden that is breaking through right now called Vivi. They are going very well for the moment, and that's the kind of music that we are spreading out, and that comes from indie companies. So it's a collection, and we're still going to have Amadeus. This is a classical orchestra that plays on electrical classical instruments. It's about also to have a lot of things that people like in Sweden. There's a lot of people that the variety is kind of big in the country, even though, we are famous for the pop music. The only thing that we don't touch, which is kind of weird, but we don't touch anything to do with metal, even though Sweden is one of the biggest countries in the world to produce metal. We don't have that, and that has to do that we don't have so many connections into it, and there's a big festival called Sweden Rock in Sweden that's doing that quite well, much better than we do.
Thanks, Peter. And I'm seeing that Manu's just popped in, but I think he's live from Barajas, so I don't know if he's going to appear on screen and have a chat with us. Let me just see. Can you hear us okay, Manu?
Yeah, hello, how are you doing? I'm inside the plane, just taking off to Menorca. So I just wanted to say hello. I'm here, Manu from Festival Marvin from Mexico City. So I don't think I'm gonna be talking a lot with you, but I just wanna say hello and say that I'm gonna be with you in just a few hours.
You'll be one of the privileged ones flying over to Menorca, so so you'll enjoy it on our behalf. I mean, have you got a few minutes to tell us before you take off about the Festival Marvin? I don't know.
Yeah, that's for sure. The time I have, I could dedicate it to tell you about the festival. It's an indie music festival, sort of South by Southwest, but a smaller version, like 10 venues with 50, 60 bands each year. But last two editions, we we became a virtual festival, and with a really big success. It's a free access festival, and last edition 600,000 people were connected around the world, with 9 venues around different cities like Los Angeles, Buenos Aires, Santiago de Chile, Mexico City, Puebla, Gothenburg, Sevilla, Granada, and Madrid. So we're planning now a next hybrid edition for next December, with presential activities in Mexico City, Madrid, and Buenos Aires, and 10 virtual cities. And we're expecting around 1 million people connected watching the festival.
Wow. Sounds super exciting. And are artists that may be watching right now still in time to apply, or applications closed to be part of this edition?
No, we're just starting bookings, deals with many culture offices in different countries like Madrid, Buenos Aires, Chile, Mexico City. So we're open to any kind of proposals and any kind of bands that would like to join us. We do like a contest for up and coming bands in an app called BizBat, Biz like business, and Bat like the bat, like Batman. So that will be open, I guess, in October or November.
Super. So thank you so much for that, because that just links us into what was going to be the last question for the session was, what would be your one tip for an artist that applies to your festival? So just one. So I'll probably start with you, Manu, if you want, because you may have to take off before we get to the end.
Yeah, there's a lot of noise now here, but trying to do the best music you can is the most important thing for us. Is doing great music, not being famous, not having a lot of followers or listeners in Spotify. So just work in your music.
Thank you for that, Manu. And who else?
Okay, I think I'm gonna stop the conversation because this is gonna take off pretty soon.
Thank you for joining. Even though it was short and sweet, it was really great to have you. Thank you, Manu.
Thank you. Nice to see you again, and see you in a few hours in Menorca. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, at least we can say this was definitely a fun panel from all around the globe, in all different places and all different showcase festivals, right? So just coming back to that question I just threw out there for you, because I think there's so much preparations that artists don't do when they're applying. It's people thinking they're ready before they are, people not having the right team around them. I think there's so many different points that I could, bring up, but I'd just like to hear for when you're receiving all these, all these different artist applications, what is that one thing that makes you click and go, oh, I'm interested, So then they know that's the personal tip from Andy or from Darryl or from Carmen, I'd love to hear that.
I would say, a high quality music video that accurately represents what the show will be, or at least close to. It doesn't have to be on a stage with an audience, but at least you can look at it and go, this is the makeup of the band or the act. I can understand which type of stage it may or may not work on, and make those types of decisions. That's a really useful thing to have. And if an artist doesn't have a high quality live performance video, that's such an important thing to invest in making happen. Because you could have a really fancy polished music video, but it's all smoke and mirrors. We need to see what the live show is going to be. So I would say that is a really important thing.
Carmen, what would you say?
I share what Manu said. I think that uniqueness, like the music for me, is the most important. I mean, I agree with you, Andy, also that you need to have a good performance, a good live performance. But it's not my priority. For me, like I listen to the record. Like if I listen to like 15 seconds of one song and it makes me curious, and then I listen to more and more and say, oh, these kids are great. I want them. Yeah. For me, the records, the music that I receive.
Those unique goosebumps, no, that make you curious to carry on listening.
they maybe want more.
Yeah.
If I can add, I totally agree with what's been said. One thing you don't want to do is book an artist based off of a song that was submitted, and then when they play live, it sounds nothing like what they've submitted. So consistency is really important. And I agree with everything said. So to try to add a different point, a lot of it is when you are going to a showcase festival, there's a conference associated. Be sure you have somebody that can talk business and that can talk on behalf of the band. Often the case, if you're performing and you're promoting, you're really busy, it's important to have that extra team member, I think, that can talk on behalf of the band and arrange meetings, because, you know, I find that artists can get a little bit more successful at, you know, achieving that booking and closing the deal if they do have that extra team member that can help them out. When you're traveling and spending a ton of money to go to a conference, have that extra person, that team member that can do all the meetings. Because the other thing I've seen a lot of times, especially South by, it's crazy. There's parties, there's free everything, anything you can think of, it happens at South by. Band sleeps in, doesn't go to this panel. Band sleeps in, misses a meeting, or hey, there's this free thing happening over here on a rooftop. That's really cool. Do we go over here where we could possibly meet the right person, or do we go to the fun thing? Sometimes the not necessarily the best business decision is made. So that extra team member that can talk business, I think, is crucial.
Francisca, what would you say?
Yeah, I agree with everything everybody's saying. It's true. One thing, to get to the showcase, the music is the important thing. Of course, it has to be a good live show. If we have the chance to see the live show, is much, much better, because it can give you a real idea of how it would look. To have a team member working before and after you go, because it's not just going and doing the show, it's much more. It's a lot of previous work, like looking who's going to be, checking before who's going to be, so you can already know who you want to meet. Maybe you can't meet him, but at least, or her, but at least you tried, or you know who that person is you wanted to meet. And also the aftermath, you know, because you go, you play, yeah, you meet the person, but then you have to write. And when you write, you have to have a complete dossier, fully, not a huge thing of thousands of pages, shorter, better, that has all the right information, that makes easy access also to the information. When you have to do a lot of clicks to get to the information, you're probably losing people on the way. Yeah. So you have to do things easy, clear, and it has to be simple. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. You're showcasing, probably you don't have a huge maybe career, a long career, but it's about being ready to go out. And that for that is super important to start in your own country, tour in your country, go to the showcases and festivals in your own country before also. That helps, because you're going to be in another place. Maybe they don't speak your own language, so it makes it different, more difficult. And yeah, it's showcase festivals. You don't have time to do a lot of sound check or things like that. So it's going to be harder than usual, but it could be really, if you do all this work, you can really get something out of it.
Thank you. And Peter, what would be that one tip for these new artists that are going to be applying for the edition for February?
Well, I agree with all the other ones. Of course, we need the live video and stuff, but there's, like, most of these conferences actually do one thing that people don't understand. They add extra questions. When you apply, they have extra questions. Why do you want to be on this showcase? Why do you want to do this? Those are the questions that actually separates quite many of the applicants, because you can see, if you just write, oh, I want another show, we know that, well, you're not going to do the hard work that is needed for a showcase, and or you more or less just make fun, or just don't write anything, or can't link into all the places that we actually ask for, or even have a press picture. So fill in all the questions quite seriously, and actually think twice how to answer those questions, because those are the ones that are the first thing they look at and they want to know. And it's usually simple questions like, why do you want to play on this showcase festival in Sweden, for example? One of the questions we had that we stole from Andy, actually. And that's the thing. That answer is kind of telling. You can see the ones that we are picking, they had a good answer, and it's more or less like, oh, we already have a fan base there, or yes, we were trying to get into the Scandinavian market, or we have seen what kind of speakers, anything like that. But if you write like, it's cool to have a show in Sweden, that would be fun. That is not the answer. So answer the question quite truly.
Yeah, I think that's sort of, if I could just add one sort of final tip to the collection of great tips that everybody's given to there, it's do your homework about where you're applying to. So that's why we organize things like, the team from Cranc have put together this session today. All these Meet the Festival sessions are your opportunity to find out more where you're applying to, because how many times have we even had applications where it says another festival in the title, if it's not gone through a direct application form, or where artists have just copied and pasted bios or copied and pasted answers. So obviously music is the main thing, but for me, it's how you present it, and how you transmit that where you're going to be playing. So, I think we've more or less just reached our time limit, and I think hopefully all our viewers have been able to hear a bit more about the different festivals, amazing festivals you guys are working on, and make sure you all apply to the right one that suits your style of music. Do your homework, do your preparation, make sure you're ready and you have the right team. So that would sort of be my closing remark for today's session, and definitely make sure you follow all these guys and their festivals on socials to be up to date with everything. So thank you to all of you for participating today, and hopefully see you soon online or in person.